Coinbase Pro would make it available on their trading platform, and it spiked up all the way from, well, let's take a look at that chart, couple cents all the way to 70, almost 70 cents. It's gone down since. But oh no, not quite 70 cents. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong timeline. It was up to, pardon me, it was up 42 cents, yeah. So still a big move, so about 30% jump this week, and it's come down a little bit since then. How did you play this? Did you play it at all?
I did not play it at all. I've really haven't, honestly, I haven't bought or sold Dogecoin since the big run up. Obviously, I regret that considering the move it had from a half a cent to wherever it went. And I think it went about 75 cents higher. But no, I haven't played this one. For me, the cryptocurrency space has always been a place where I go because they're all about scarcity, right? And with Dogecoin, you don't have scarcity. There's 10,000 more Dogecoins printed every minute, just like the US dollar is getting printed. So my thesis for Dogecoin just doesn't apply for what other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin would do. However, saying that, you can clearly see a potential head and shoulders here forming. So I do want to say that investors in Dogecoin should be very careful. Now, you've had the bounce of the right shoulder here. If you come down and you take out 30 cents to the downside, this has sub 10 cents written all over it. Now, it still could go higher in the near term. You guys know last time I was on, we talked about Bitcoin. I'm sure we'll go over the chart in a minute. And I still think Bitcoin has upside to maybe 48 to 50,000 before the next leg lower. But I think when that next leg lower comes, you're going to see Dogecoin break below 30 cents and really head down sharply. So I'm sure it's not going to be the most popular thing, but it's just what the charts are telling me, folks. It's just, that's really how I try to do it, is just, keep my emotion out of it and just say, okay, this is forming on the chart. Historically, these patterns have this percentage chance of playing out, and therefore we have to think that that's a possibility of happening.
I was going to ask you to zoom in on this week's price action, and because it looked very dramatic, 30% run up. But if you zoom out just back to May, it's still nowhere near the top. It's still nowhere near before Elon Musk went on SNL and called it a hustle. So
yeah.
Remember before he said that, it was all the craze, potentially the new Bitcoin people were calling it, but it doesn't look like that anymore. So tell us a little bit more about this head and shoulders pattern. What happens after this? Usually, you have this big downward arrow.
Right. So a head and shoulders. So you can see very clear defined head and shoulders here. So here's your left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. And then really a head and shoulders only triggers when this neckline, this is what we refer to as the neckline, when that breaks. And that's really the catalyst for the collapse to the downside. So really, in all fairness, you could still see Dogecoin go up higher, maybe to 50 cents, maybe 55 cents. The key is whenever it curls down, if it comes back to that 30-cent level, that's where investors who are long would really want to be watching carefully. Because once you break that trend line, that neckline, usually you'll see a very, very sharp decline in a matter of, it could be days, down to, and again, the target here would probably be 8 to 10 cents on the downside, which would be massive. And what's interesting here, folks, let's go to the Bitcoin chart here because we can show that essentially the same pattern played out on Bitcoin. And here you have the shoulder, head, and shoulder. Here was your neckline. And then notice how it hit the neckline. And then right here, it broke. And then within 3 days, you hit 30,000 from 50,000. So you can see how that plays out so quickly as that support line breaks. And now you can see Bitcoin starting to tease and inch up just a little bit.
Okay. All right. So yeah, a couple of weeks ago, you called the 30,000 line. You nailed that. You said it could potentially trace down to $20,000. We haven't seen that yet, but you also said that upside momentum is to be expected before any further retracement.
Just let me clarify that too from what I said. So basically, what I said is the 30,000 hit. You should retrace to 48,000 to 50,000, which is the neckline. And then I expect another wave of selling down to 20,000. And what's interesting here is, so again, short term, very short term, I'm bullish, on Bitcoin, thinking that it'll do a retrace. And then if you ask me 3 to 6 months out, I think you do probably head down to 20,000. And interestingly enough, I think you got a very short term breakout here on Bitcoin. Let me just see if I can find the chart pattern here. Let me go to
Well, wait a minute. We're already in June, Gareth. You said 3 to 6 months out, we're heading to 20,000. What happened to all the $100,000 Bitcoin calls people have been making? You're going to disappoint them.
No. So don't get me wrong, David. At 20,000, I'm going to be buying like crazy because I do think it's going to. But remember, if you look at 2017, you made that top near 20,000, and then it really took 2.5 years to start this next move up. So when I'm talking, 3 to 6 months in the scheme of a bear cycle in Bitcoin, that's not a lot of time, right? So I want to be clear is that Bitcoin, I'm in love with it. I love the idea. I love diversifying away from fiat currencies and having the stability of a Bitcoin that can only have 21 million mined. But at the same time, just like anything, there's going to be cycles. You're going to have big breaks to the upside, big breaks to the downside. What we want to do is we want to just recognize where the lows are going to be and then accumulate more or buy it at that point. So just for instance, in the short term, what you can see here is this beautiful little trend line here this is my 60-minute chart of Bitcoin. And you can see that pivot, all these pivots along here. And then look what the short-term price did. It broke above, it retested. And this is probably what's going to send it up now. I wouldn't be surprised if by next week we hit 48,000 or close to it on Bitcoin in the short term. So again, short-term analysis dictates upside to maybe 48 to 50, basically retracing to this neckline. And then I think the next wave of selling takes you down here to the 20-ish thousand level, where you'll ultimately should put in a longer term bottom for the next move up. And again, remember folks, 50 to 70% corrections on Bitcoin are not out of the realm. I mean, this is very commonplace for Bitcoin. You just have to, again, just expect volatility. It's a new thing in the scheme of investments in this world we live in, and it's going to have extra volatility, and just know the charts and be ready to buy at the right levels.
Just before I let you go, Gareth, what do you think of the notion of a crypto winter hitting us soon? Crypto winter is a term that describes basically what happened post-2017 all the way to 2019, a period of a couple of years of just flat consolidating price pattern. Could that happen this time? Would it happen, and why?
Yeah, so I think it absolutely could happen and likely will. And if it's a couple years, folks, don't think. I mean, I know everyone wants to make millions of dollars, overnight and stuff. But let's remember that if you're investing in Bitcoin, the thesis is what matters, which is diversifying away from the Fed just printing money, the government debt, and all that stuff. So longer term, look 5 or 10 years out, and that's easily where this thing is north of 100,000 for me. But if you get a couple months or even 6 months or a year or two of sideways action, just know that that's accumulation going on, where buyers and sellers are meeting, and ultimately watch the institutions, watch for that institutional kind of buying pressure to come in. And I think the cause of this could be obviously China cracking down on cryptos. The question is, does the US government decide to do anything to kind of stem the rise in Bitcoin in terms of an alternate to the dollar? Those are all types of things that could easily get in the way here.